Hey everybody, it's Austin. We are in the shop today, or the two-car garage as most shops are. And I am wanting to organize my drills. I have 6 here, well 7 if you count both my lights. And I am really wanting to get them off of my pegboard wall that I've just been hanging them by their hooks up on these rods. And I want to make one of those drill holders like you see on YouTube. So I'm going to show you guys what my process looks like and the process that it takes to get there. And hopefully it turns out all right. So what I've done is started out with a piece of 1x8 that I got out of the cheap pile at Home Depot. This is just my base, just to give myself a reference. And I've measured out to 34 inches. And that will be where my end 3/4 pieces will be placed. And this will be all made out of 3/4 inch plywood. And the reason I did that is because the distance between this stud and this stud is 32 inches. So I want to have a little bit of room inside of the edge to put in my screws to hang this on the wall. So I have 6 tools here, but I want to account for 8 spots, possibly to put my jigsaw, as well as maybe the angle grinder. But those things may just sit on top. So I just want to at least have 8 spots because these are the important ones right here. And the lights, not even as important. So I've measured out, starting 1 inch in to account for the 3/4 inches here. I've measured out every, I started my first hole 2 inches in. And then from there, I went every 4 inches. And that will be where I will drill my 1.5 inch hole at each of these marks to account for the width of the tool, because this is about 1.5 inches wide. So I'm going to drill with 1.5 inch hole saw at each of these marks, and then take a jigsaw and run it into the edge of each circle, and there will be the groove. So we'll have 8 slots here, and then I'll have to put in some support braces, I'm sure. But that will give us about 1.5 inches of room on each side. And the top of the largest one of these tools is the impact wrench here, and it is about 2.5 inches wide, maybe 3 inches. So that gives us some clearance there to account for the bigger tools. So that is what we're gonna do, and I'm gonna go ahead and get this trimmed up to 34 inches on the miter saw, and then go ahead and get my holes drilled. All right, so the plans have changed a little bit. I got my board cut at the 34 inch mark using my circular saw, and we are going to drill a 1 3/4 inch hole, not a 1.5, solely because I don't have that size hole saw, which kind of sucks because 1.5 would be better, but I don't have one. So I'm gonna go with a 1 3/4, and it should work okay. But measure your tool handles and decide what you want to do for yourself. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this cut out. All right, something I didn't think about. I didn't think about the fact that the hole saw would have some offset beyond the mark that I've made here, because I want that to be the back of the channel in which the drill and all of that sets. So half of 1 3/4 would be 5/8, no, 7/8. So I need to move those up this way, 7/8 of an inch. That's what I need to do. All right, well, I'm gonna do that. That might make this tricky with the knot in the hole. That might make that a little bit tricky, but that's what we're gonna do. Move them up just a little bit. I've set the depth right now to be 5 inches deep. This is a 7.5 inch board. And then I'll put a piece of bracing 3/4 right here to give it a little bit of support since the span's pretty long. But I'm gonna scoot that up just a little bit. I don't know exactly how I'm gonna drill that. I might tack a board underneath to give the bit something to draw to, because I will essentially be drilling this out. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. All right, so with that, I started a pilot hole with my little drill bit there for the hole saw to rest in, and the drill just right out of the knot. Looks pretty good to me, baby. Sorry, probably shouldn't call you guys baby, but I'm pretty pumped. I just drilled out of a knot, the side of one. So I'm gonna go ahead and drill out the rest of these, and then we'll use the jigsaw to come in the side. All right, so now we've got all the holes drilled, and what we have to do now is use our jigsaw or our table saw and cut a line right along the sides, which will create our groove to slide the tools into. So I'm gonna go ahead and, I think, get out the table saw, maybe. I might try one with the jigsaw and using my square as a guide. I think I'm gonna do that first. So, show you guys how that goes. All right, so I have my lines drawn just to the edge of the circles. I'm gonna go ahead and get that cut out. Forgot the square. So I can use the square to line up my cuts. And I'm gonna cut on the inside of my line just to make sure I don't make it too just about like I did there. Got really close, so I started curving it in a little bit myself. So I'm gonna try it down here. Alright, I don't think my blade is square with the bottom of the plate. So the square gives me a bit of a guide, but it is not perfect to rely on. So let's try this out. Look at that. So without the bit on there, that fits on there perfectly. Look at that. That couldn't be better. Heck yeah. And it's resting down here on that. Let's try it with one of the rigid tools. Alright, let's try this big boy. Look at that. That's awesome. See when it sets back a little bit like that? That's perfect. That's exactly what I was hoping for. Awesome. All right, well, we're gonna keep going and keep doing that same process to cut out each of the holes. All right, so I've found that if you're cutting your sections out, I was doing it coming from the outside in, and it's really beneficial to come from the inside out, because then you can line your blade up with the furthest side point of the hole and then just go straight out. So just a tidbit of help to let you guys in on. All right, so now that the grooves are cut for each of the tools, it's layout time for how tall and how big we want this. I'm thinking 16 inches tall, and then having a shelf about 5 inches above that, above the main level, running across to hold, you know, some extra bits and some extra screws and things like that. And then a bigger cavity above that, and then a final shelf on top that will hold the chargers. So I'm gonna go ahead and kind of get this sketched out, and then I'll bring you in on how to finish it up. All right, so I've got my piece of birch plywood that I have left over from another project, and I'm cutting it at 8 inches width, and that will be the vertical piece that this will have next to it. So imagine this is it laying on its side. That'll be the height of it, 16 inches, which I haven't cut off the end yet. But we're gonna rip this down to 8 inches to account for a 3/4 inch piece along the back. And then we will figure out the shelving once we get those pieces ripped down. All right, so I have the side piece cut like I showed you in the last clip, but I've pre-drilled 3 holes at the bottom, and I've pre-drilled it into the piece that'll be holding our drills, and I'm going to secure it with 3 1.5-inch screws. And I have used a like a flare drill bit so that the screw is recessed and looks real clean. I'm gonna go ahead and put those in. Give this one click. All right. Looks good. And I would recommend wood gluing it, but I don't have any. It dried up on me for some reason, so I'm just screwing it, which I think will be plenty to hold it, of course. All right, so just gotta put in that last one. Then I'll put on the other side. Well, we ran out of wood, so we are heading to Home Depot, the land of our people. So, getting more birch, make this thing look nice. And I guess I could have gotten wood glue now, but that's all right. We'll keep using screws. We'll see you back in the garage in just a few. Hey everybody, we're back with the second day of this project. It got a little late last night and I had to go pick up the extra piece of plywood that we need for the back of the drill station. I wanted it to match since that would be something that you would be seeing from the front. But I was doing my measurements and I won't have a piece for the top to run across the top of it because it'll just be too thin. So I think what I'm going to do is do a piece of 3/4 inch that I have over there already, and we'll just use that as the top to support our charging station because that's what I'm planning on putting up there. So I'm going to get this ripped down to the size of the back of the drill cabinet, and then we'll get it mounted up. All right, so changing my game plan a little bit. I pulled off the sideboards and just wanted to make a little cut at the top at a 40-degree angle. I came in 5 inches on the top and then cut a 40-degree angle, which is 2.5 inches down on the side. So I'm going to go ahead and install these back and then put our back plywood piece back on. I don't think I'm going to glue anything up because I may want to modulate this a little bit later down the road and maybe expand it or something. So I don't think I'm going to glue at least the sides on at this point. So time to put these together. All right, so we have it up in place and I'm going to attach this back piece. I got 3/4 inch sanded plywood just so it's a little bit more sturdy to bolt it to the wall. And I'm going to run maybe 4 or 5 screws down the sides to hold it in place. So I think it'll look really nice. And then we'll put a shelf probably about here to put our chargers on. And then we'll have a second shelf here and here for drill bits and router bits and such like that. All right, so we'll just replicate this on the other side. I divided it, I went up 1 inch here, down 1 inch here, halfway here, which was 10 inches, and then 5.5 from the top, 5.5 from the bottom to split that difference. So come do that on the other side. All right, so I have this mocked up now, and I've measured the height of my tallest tool, which is the impact wrench. And to give myself some clearance, I'm going to make that go up to 4 inches. And I'm going to cut down this scrap piece that I cut off this baseboard at the beginning. I'm going to cut it down to 4 inches tall and put that right in the middle. And then put a shelf on top of it. So I think that'll look really nice. And then that will, you know, create this little cavity space right here. And then we'll be able to have a shelf there and then another one up here. So I think it looks pretty good. So I'm gonna get that ripped down to 4 inches and build a shelf across it out of my 3/4 inch plywood that I have left over. So let's do it to it. So I have them a piece cut, and I've placed it in the center of the 5th rung here. Put a couple brad nails in it to hold it in place with some wood glue. And I'm just gonna run in a couple screws for support. Getting heavy now. All right, so now we get to put a shelf here. I don't have a long enough piece, so I might have to rip down 2 pieces to make it fit. I'm gonna rip down 2 pieces of 3/4 because that's what I have left, and that'll look good. Let's see if I have enough to get 2 out of it with 1 width. Find my tape measure. So we've got a width of 7 1/4. So we need 14.5 here. We have 14 1/4. So I'll be able to get 2 7-inchers out of that. I think that'll be enough. I think that'll be good. All right. Seven 3/16 is where we want it. No, 7 1/16. All right, set it at that. All right, look at that. Perfect. So we'll have 2 pieces that'll look exactly like that. I might cut down another 4-inch strip just to go right here on either side, just to give it something to rest on. That'll be great. All right, so we got both pieces cut and our little support over there, but it is still a little tight. I cut it down just the kerf of the saw. But I'm just going to loosen up one of these screws real quick to let that fall into place and then retighten it on the back. All right, so we got it in. It's really snug. Let's see if I can still get that out, so that's good. There's a little bit of gap there. I don't know what's the deal with that. Maybe my piece is bowed, or this board is bowed and it's screwed into it. But I think that looks pretty good. So I'm gonna tighten the screws back down. All right, so now that we've got this set up real well, I'm gonna put little bit of glue underneath there. A little bit of glue here to set them on. And then we'll brad nail it down just to hold it. Darn it, I put those screws back in.
Into place.
Alright, so now we can shoot some brad nails into there. Try the long ones, see how they do. Didn't go through, so that's good. Alright. Alright, so that'll hold that there. And the glue will set and we'll be square. So now I need to run a couple screws into the sides and then some along the back as well, because this is just very structural. This piece is hooked to this piece, which is supporting that. So just got to run in some more screws. It's gonna have a lot of screws in it, but I like things to be strong. There's ways to do this with dados and router joints, and we can do all that. Like, I can show you how to do that, but a lot of us don't have that or don't have the time to do that. And screws are readily available, and everybody, if you're working on this on your own, has a drill. So just a more universal way to do things. So I'm going to do that to this side, which I already did. I'm going to run some screws down the back at that same level, and then hit that side, and then we'll build our second shelf. All right, so we finished the first shelf, and we are on to the next one. And on the right side, I want to be able to store drill bits. And this is my tallest drill bit set, and it's like 8.5 inches. So I cut this one at 9, and this side's going to be storage for those bits, which I currently have right here. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 over there, 2 over there, then extraction bits. So it'll be kind of a catch-all for bits and anything we need to go in that space. And then over here, I'm gonna lay down my router bits, my Forstner bits, and probably build a second little spot for sandpaper and things like that, just to kind of get some stuff out of the way. So we'll see what it turns into, but I'm just gonna be using some of the scrap 1/2-inch plywood that I have. Of course that doesn't fit, but I'll trim it down, and then we can go from there. So I got the top 2 shelves cut, and I just wanted to take this time to screw in the cross members that we've made so far from the back, because I've done them all from the sides. And so there's quite a few screws in the back, and you can see I checked these. I misdrilled. Super sad. One peeked through, so I backed it back out, and it'll be fine. There's still a screw in there, and it's wood glued, so it'll be good. But now the last thing is to just screw in the top shelf, and we should be done. All right, so we're on the final step. Well, other than hanging it, I got these held up with some braces, just holding them there, and they were perfectly aligned with the center, so I was really happy with that. And I glued them and stuck a couple brad nails in there to hold them down. And then what I'm going to do next is just carefully drill a couple screws into the sides from the side of each of the side braces. And then we should be done. I'm really pleased with how it's turned out. I'm going to put the bits here. Some other things, Forstner bits, router bits. So a lot of bits. And then my charging station will be up here. Or at least part of it. So I'm really excited with how it's turning out so far. I'll show you guys what it looks like here at the end. I think I'm going to maybe do some additional things to it, but I'm not sure as of yet. But I'm really excited with how it's turning out. And I hope you guys are enjoying it too, and it's something that you can incorporate into your shop. So I'll show you what it looks like here at the end. All right, fellas, so here it is. It is done, and I may do some trimming, add some hardwood trim around the plywood faces so it looks a little cleaner, but I think it turned out really well. I'm excited for the functionality of it, and all that I have left is to get this mess cleaned up so that I can hang it right there. So I gotta take down my chargers because that's going on there. Take down a couple of those little buckets, pull off that pegboard, and relocate some of those tools, which some of them go over there. So I may move the pegboard to this wall. Just something's gotta go. All right, fellas, so if you don't do this when you first move into your house, it's really hard to get it done because then your bench turns into a mess. But what we're doing here is we're trying to make this look how I want it. So I think I'm going to put a piece of plywood up here, maybe if I have a piece that'll fit, and we're going to mount the drill holder to that. So then we have more space to mount further accessory attachments, maybe on a French cleat type system. So I'm going to take this down and we'll hopefully get to add that. All right, so I have a lot of the stuff in here that I'm going to keep in here, but in order to run this rigid power bank, I want to be able to run this wire through the side. So I've drilled a pilot hole right here, and then I'm going to use a big 1.25" Forstner bit to run it through the side. And I've clamped a scrap 2x4 up there just so I hopefully can mitigate some tear out. So let's see how it looks. Pretty clean cut. Not too bad. All right, now, moment of truth. Oh no, I checked the width. I didn't check the height. Dang it. Oh, that sucks. That was stupid. Why do I even need that though? I'm not gonna like wrap it up. Maybe I'll cut that off. Let's see. All right, so I got it cut out with the 1.5 inch bit, and now I'm gonna use my router with the round over, just so it prevents chafing of the wire on the hole. But I appreciate you guys sticking with me, watching the video, and I hope you guys are able to incorporate this into your shop and help you guys get organized as we come into spring and we'll be out in the garage more often. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you on the next one. Keep building.